Hello and welcome now to this video. So in this video, I kind of want to talk about INFJs and the way that we can be sometimes, because I've been giving thought to this and I think it's kind of interesting to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it. So what do I specifically mean, or like what am I referring to specifically when I'm talking about the way that INFJs can be? Well, we INFJs, we're a very paradoxical type, right? We have a lot of things about us that are very like contradictory in a lot of ways, and they can exist simultaneously within us. And that kind of creates a situation where we can either be, if we are somebody who is, I really like the way that there's this one YouTuber who kind of talks about the different types of INFJs, and his name is Renaud. I don't know how to pronounce it. He goes by Ren on YouTube, Contini, I believe. I really recommend checking out his channel and checking out what he has to say about the different types and subtypes and stuff like that of INFJs and stuff, because it's a very interesting topic to talk about this. But in this video, I'm not really going to talk about like different subtypes of INFJs and stuff. Also, parts like, sorry if I'm like phlegmy and sniffly and whatever. It's springtime. I live in Florida. There's pollen all over the place, so I can't step foot outside without getting bombarded with allergens. And I even have allergy relief meds, and even then, right? Anyway, so in this video, I kind of want to talk about like certain like a certain dichotomy that kind of exists with INFJs that I feel like does not get talked about too often. And that is the fact that INFJs, because of this paradoxical nature that we exist in, you can either be a very deeply unhealed INFJ, unhealthy INFJ, or a healed INFJ. And the healed INFJ, I think, is akin to when Rennie talks about spiritualized INFJs, right? That's a healthier form of being of an INFJ. But there's also the unhealthy form. And something that I feel like doesn't get really talked about a whole lot is what that dichotomy kind of looks like. An unhealthy INFJ versus a spiritualized or healthy INFJ. We INFJs, because of our NITI loop that we can get stuck in a lot, we can really not even just come across, but truly we can be very, very selfish and very, I won't say selfish, but I'll say like self-absorbed or like self-obsessed, right? And we can become very like nothing and nobody else matters to me in this moment outside of myself and how I feel. And we can get caught in this loop of NITI. It's very different to an NIFI loop, which is what INTJs face, because with INTJs, it is, because it's FI, it is more of a feeling-based thing. So there is a level of like, it's like getting caught up in your own feelings about certain things, as opposed to the NITI loop, which is void of feelings. So it's very cold, very logical, very calculated in a lot of ways. And the way that kind of comes across is you're not even comes across, but like actually can manifest is we simply just do not take feelings into account. We don't really take people's, like their feelings. We don't take people's ideas. We don't take any suggestions from anybody outside of ourselves into account, right? And because of this nature to potentially have that capacity of being stuck in that NITI loop, if you are an unhealed INFJ, you are going to be, well, like I said, you're going to be very self-absorbed to the point where people are going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, you're too obsessed with your own thing and you're not listening to anybody. A more healed or spiritualized INFJ is going to recognize it pretty quickly. Like, we're still going to get stuck in that NITI loop. And I consider myself a pretty healed INFJ, right? I'm in the process of healing myself. I'm in the process of being better. But even like INFJs in general, we can get stuck in that NITI loop. And a more spiritualized INFJ, when they're told like, hey, you're being kind of selfish or you're being kind of self-absorbed in this moment, a more healed INFJ can, in that moment, take a step back, tune in, tap into that FESE, and recognize, oh shit, yeah, I'm being a little bit self-absorbed here. Let me back off. All right. But specifically what I wanted to refer to, which is what I really don't hear it being talked about a lot, is how extreme it can be, right? It can get to the point where an INFJ, we kind of exist in this dichotomy that if we do not work on ourselves, we can very easily become the most destructive person. I would even dare to say the most destructive out of all of the personality types or cognitive types. I don't like using personality because it makes it seem like MBTI and all of this stuff is a personality. It's not a personality, but that'll be for another video. But in this video, we're talking about INFJs and our capacity to potentially be very destructive. And like I said, I would even say we can be the most destructive. And what I mean by that is there is nothing scarier than an INFJ who has had absolutely enough and is just not listening to people and is completely rogue, right? It's a terrifying thing. I've been there. It's terrifying to be in that place, because we INFJs, we can be very deeply empathetic and deeply understanding of people, and we honestly, we forgive a lot of things that we really shouldn't be forgiving with people, but we do a lot of the times. But when we get to that breaking point and we cross a certain threshold and we just do not work on ourselves ever, and we just exist in this unhealthy mindset, we can become literally Hitler. Hitler was an INFJ, right? Like, it's that capacity. I'm talking about like a deeply unhealed, unhealthy INFJ who has gone off the deep end, becomes Hitlerian, and really revolutionizes the world in the worst way possible. But it's also important to keep in mind that in the same capacity that INFJs can be the worst human being imaginable, if we do heal ourselves and we do work on ourselves and we do keep a more optimistic approach to life, we can become like saints almost, where we can be very, what's the word? We can be an example for people because we do have the capacity for great change. INFJs, our cognitive function set in the order that it's set in is like almost designed to be revolutionary, right? We have it within us to really change, people, and to really change things for the better. We have that capacity if we really work on it and we really put our heart to doing that. We really can do that. But for the everyday INFJ, these extremes, you know, they're not going to be as extreme as that, even though we have the capacity for it. But most INFJs, we're not going to be Hitler or Jesus Christ. Both INFJs, by the way. Instead, it's going to just be more like localized to our own circle of friends and our own community and whatever. But the point that I'm trying to drive home here is there's a lot of videos that exist on YouTube that talk about how great INFJs are, and INFJs are all these positive things, and we're attentive to detail. And we also, which is a big fat fucking lie, by the way, like INFJs can be detail oriented. Most of the time we're not. NI does not allow for that a lot of the time. TI does, but that's beside the point. They always talk about how like, oh, INFJs we can read a room really well, and we can understand people, and we're deeply empathetic, and we are this and we are that. And they always talk about all these positive traits that truly any cognitive type can fall into, right? ISTPs can be empathetic, right? Even if they have TI as their dominant function, they can still be empathetic. ENFJs can still be, whatever the other thing. My brain right now is frazzled. But every cognitive type can be all of these different traits that they usually preach about in all of these INFJ videos. But that's not what we need to be looking for to figure out our cognitive type. We need to be looking for also the negative aspects of it. And let me tell you, INFJ negative aspects are really gross. They're really, really scary. But it's important this video, as all my videos are, they're very stream of consciousness. So if these videos come out like all over the place, that's why. I did not sleep a whole lot last night. I only slept like 4 hours. Got my cup of coffee here. It's Wawa, because Wawa makes great coffee and it's really cheap. But as I was saying, INFJs, the more layman INFJ, the everyday INFJ, we really got to work on ourselves, because because of our cognitive stack and the way that it's oriented and all of that, we have our work cut out for us as INFJs. I would say more than a lot of other cognitive types, because like I said, we have that capacity to be very self-absorbed because of that NITI. That's something we really got to work on. It is something that can be a huge benefit, but can simultaneously be our biggest downfall if we're not careful. And it's important not to fall into the trap that a lot of INFJs, myself included, that we can fall into, where we get so stuck in logicking our way through emotions with that TI-NI loop, and we completely tune out FE in any capacity, right? It's important to, when you find yourself in that NITI loop, and INFJs, I know you know what that looks like. It's when you're way too logical and you think way too deeply about things and you overanalyze. It's important to not do that. And in those moments when you find yourself doing that, a great way to snap out of that and, recenter yourself, tap into SE. Go outside, go for a walk, do something that engages your SE, especially if it involves FE. So go outside, go for a walk, go eat at a restaurant or go to some public place or something, and just try to engage yourself with people in some capacity. And you will find that FE and SE will come and save the day, because it's very easy for us to slip into NITI. And it's so important that we don't allow ourselves to, because that's kind of where a lot of the times that INFJ door slam comes in, right? And that's not to say that other cognitive types don't have a door slam. They do. They have their own versions of it. But the INFJ door slam is pretty brutal because it comes from a NITI place more often than not. So it's very cold and very, very calculated. It is not like, I really sat with this and I really thought about things and it makes me feel a certain way. And I know that you feel a certain way and whatever. No, it's very, I'm done with you. Therefore, logically, it makes no sense to have you in my life anymore. Even if we had a very deep, connection emotionally and whatever, when an unhealthy INFJ gets to that place, it's like cold. It's brutal. And it's just important that we do not do that because we are human beings. As much as we like to think of ourselves as we're like not human, because a lot of the time it doesn't feel like we are human. We still feel, and we need to not forget that when we're in that NITI loop. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like it's important to talk about the unhealthy aspects of INFJs. And we INFJs have a very dangerous, unhealthy side to us if we're not careful and we don't heal from things. How do you heal? Honestly, just work on yourself. That's really all I can say. Just work on yourself. Whenever people tell you that you're doing something that's hurting them, or you said something or whatever that that made them feel a certain way or whatever, instead of going into TI and tapping into TI and being like, logically it makes no sense that they would be hurt by that thing, so I don't understand what their problem is. Let's not do that. Let's tap into FE a little bit more, and say, okay, they're hurt. Let me now think about what I did that hurt them. Even if it makes no sense, even if logically they shouldn't feel hurt by something, we have to remember as INFJs, emotions and feelings are not logical. They're simply not. A lot of the times they are illogical. They're irrational even. But that's just how feelings and emotions are. That is how they exist. It doesn't mean that they can't be rational, they can't be logical. They can be, but that's not the plane that they exist in, right? It's on the opposite side of the spectrum to logic and analysis, is where emotions and feelings sit, right? This is why thinking and feeling are, two separate categories. And us INFJs, we really can forget that a lot of the times because we are so analytical of our own emotions that we do that with other people's emotions. It's why we make really great therapists, because we can take an objective stance on emotions, and that can get people to see things from a different perspective. But when you're talking about like friends and family, which they just need you to listen to their feelings, not analyze their feelings like a therapist, it can come across really cold when you tell them like, well, logically speaking, I don't understand why you're feeling that way. Like, just take a step back. Be like, man, that really sucks that you're feeling that way. What can I do to help? Do you need a shoulder to cry on? Do you need me to give you a distraction of some kind? Like, what do you need me to do? Right. Tap into that FE. Engage your SE when a friend or a family member is opening up to you emotionally and telling you their feelings. Engage your SE, step out of your NITI, and engage SE and FE in that moment, which is what you need to be doing. And yeah. Anyway, I don't know where this video went. It just kind of was all over the place. I guess it was just a way to be like, INFJs, let's do better, right? Not to say that INFJs are doing bad, but like, I know there's a lot of INFJs out there that are not doing great and can really use a pep talk from a fellow INFJ who has been there and is still in a lot of respects there. But as long as we're trying and as long as we're trying to be better as people, that's all that matters, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and gleaned something from it. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, up, down, left and right, pink and blue, Dance's Revolution, wherever that subscribe button is for you. And I will catch you all in the next video. Take care.